everyone. Thanks for coming. If you could take your seats, we'll get started in a couple minutes. Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. If you could take your seats, we're going to get started in a minute.
I'm going to get Joe Jr., Joanne,
Okay.
and then Amanda, and Herbert, and Dawn,
Okay.
Dylan, young Dylan there, and
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
Oh, you are Southpaw? Oh.
Preamble, we don't have the preamble. Somebody will read out of the book in the box. Anyway, there you go.
Good evening, everyone. Well, thank you for coming tonight to the, as Bill sees it, meeting of the Alcoholics Anonymous. I am an alcoholic, and my name is Peggy. And tonight is a special night for Alcoholics Anonymous. I know people think we're celebrating birthdays, but we're really celebrating AA's success because it can keep even people like Wayne and Jesse sober. So we have some readings that we're going to do, and so I think you know that if you've been asked to do a reading, and if you don't, suck it up and come up anyway. So we'll start with the preamble, and Joe N. is going to read that for us. How good are your eyes, Joe? Because we don't have it written.
Very good.
It's there.
Hey everybody, I'm an alcoholic. My name's Joe. I'm pretty proud to be reading the steps for Wayne. Where is he? He, he's helped me out quite a bit this time around, And, I listened to him. We're still on step 5. It's almost been a year. But he's like, Joe, you need a lot of work, right? So, I definitely don't want to screw this one up, And I appreciate all your help that you've given me. And I'm grateful that you're in my life. I'm going to just put that down because I'm shaking. Alcoholics Anonymous, the preamble. That's pretty loud, isn't it? Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are fully self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and to help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
Thanks, Joe. So I don't actually have anything written down. Oh, it's here, telling me what I'm supposed to do with this. So maybe this is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you for being here. We have various readings that we do at the start of a meeting. We start with the preamble, and then we have a reading called How It Works, which is from chapter 5 of this beautiful life-saving book. And tonight, Amanda and Herbert are going to read How It Works and the 12 Steps.
I'm Amanda, I'm an alcoholic. Thank you so much, Wayne, for asking me to be part of your special night. I'm really honored. I met Wayne back in 2019 when I first came into Alcoholics Anonymous, and I didn't want to be here, and he actually drove me nuts because he went on, and I was just coming off of alcohol, and the scattered brain didn't want to listen to anything, didn't want to hear it. But I came back in during COVID, and there weren't very many people to sponsor, and there's only a small group of people, and I was drawn to Wayne, and we spent hours every week because we had time during COVID, and we went through the big book and did all his notes and all that stuff, and I consider him like a father to me. I look up to him. Don't cry. Honestly, I don't know where I'd be without you. You've taught me so much in this program, and I always look up to you because you're super nice, you're calm, and I want what you have. You just reek spirituality, and for that, thank you for.
Really crying too, but it's Jesse's birthday too. Jesse's birthday too, just not mine.
I'm getting to Jesse. But thank you, Wayne. Jesse, geez, I don't even know when I met you, but I've known you for a while, probably in here, but congratulations on your 10 years. That's amazing. How it works. So rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. They're such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us, but there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery.
Congratulations, Jess. It's nice to come back here to the meeting and see you again. You know, being here in the church, and I was sitting there and I was thinking, if there's anybody that I could compare the Good Samaritan story to, you know, the guy that picks up that person that's fallen off to the wayside and then picked me up again and then picked me up again, that you're the one. The 12 steps. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs.
Many of us exclaimed, "What an order! I can't go through with it. Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear three pertinent ideas. A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. And C, that God could and would if He were sought.
Thanks, Herbert. And we have a reading that we call the 12 Traditions, and oftentimes people will say that it's to keep harmony in the groups. But really, if we apply the principles from the traditions, it's going to help us with our relationships in our whole lives, at work, at home, in the rooms, you know, even in your car when you want to curse at that driver ahead of you. And to read the traditions for us tonight is Dawn. Yeah, but it's Dawn.
But it's Dawn. Anyway, I'm an alcoholic. My name's Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
That is really, wow. It's not often I need a microphone. All right, 12 traditions. Number one. Oh, let me just start with, where is Jesse? Oh, there he is. Hi, Jesse. Nice to see you. Both Wayne and Jesse mean a lot to Joel and I, and they were both in our wedding, which is very exciting. And they're both just huge parts of our lives, and I'm just so grateful to be here celebrating with both of you. And I'm not going to go into a big long thing about how much I love you both, but just know that I do. All right, number one, the 12 traditions. Number one, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. 2, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as He may express Himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. 6, an AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need to always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. And 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thanks.
And it also tells us in the book that if we live our lives according to the principles set out in the steps and the traditions, that we will experience some changes. And this reading is the 9th step, Promises. And Dylan T. is going to read that for us tonight.
Hey everyone, I'm Dylan and I'm an alcoholic. Jesse, congrats, man. Any friend of Wayne's is a friend of mine. And yeah, Wayne, what can I say? Yeah, you've been the absolute rock through one of the hardest times of my life. You opened up your home to me, took me under your wing. Yeah, and I would not be sober without you, so thank you. And the promises. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
Thanks, Dylan. And because this is a spiritual program, many of us do daily readings to stay in contact with our higher power. And in this group, we read from the daily reflections. And tonight, Jeff is going to read that for us. We don't have it on paper, but
All right. Thanks, Wayne. It's a pleasure to speak here for a second, and thanks for your insight into certain discussions we've had. I appreciate it. And Jesse, congratulations on your 10 years. I don't know you, but way to go. So, May 26th. Our spiritual and emotional growth in AA does not depend so deeply upon success as it does upon our failures and setbacks. If you will bear this in mind, I think that your slip will have the effect of kicking you upstairs instead of down, and as Bill sees it. In keeping with the pain and adversity which our founders encountered and overcame in establishing AA, Bill Wilson sent us a clear message. A relapse can provide a positive experience towards abstinence and a lifetime of recovery. A relapse brings truth to what we hear repeatedly in meetings. Don't take that first drink. It reinforces the belief in the progressive nature of the disease, and it drives home the need for and beauty of humility in our spiritual program. Simple truths come in complicated ways to me when I become ego-driven.
Thanks, Jeff. It's kind of appropriate that this group is the As Bill Sees It group, and we normally would read from the book As Bill Sees It, but we won't do that tonight because we have a speaker, but it's kind of nice that the daily reflection was a reading from As Bill Sees It. So I realized that one of the things that I should have done at the very beginning was to say that for many years, people have been coming together like this to share their experience, strength, and hope with each other. And during those years, Many people have come through the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous. Some have aged in sobriety, and some, unfortunately, never returned. And we're reminded of that this week as we lost one. Gary passed away this week. So if we could please open this meeting with a moment of silence followed by the Serenity Prayer. Serenity Prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And then there's one other thing. I'm supposed to qualify to chair a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I am an alcoholic. My name is Peggy. I drank a lot, mostly at home and mostly alone. One of the things that I frequently did, well, mostly if I drank outside of the home, it was at a business function for my then husband. And so the people that he worked with, I called them the plastics. I didn't care for them. They were very materialistic and money-driven. And I didn't fit in. I didn't fit in anywhere, but especially with them. So I would get all dressed up, and I had this special bra that I wore only to these events, right? And so it was engineered, not sewn, and it was designed for small-breasted women. And so I'd be all dressed up, and we'd have a few drinks, and I'd start talking about my bra, and then I'd offer to let his coworkers touch them. So that should qualify me. And I'm just going to take this opportunity to say, Jesse and Wayne, thank you, both of you, for being a part of my sobriety. The last time I saw Jesse, poor guy, I ran up to him in the grocery store in Port Elgin and gave him a big hug before he even knew who I was. So, but you guys have both played a very special role in where I am in my life today, and I thank you for everything that you've given me and for everything that you've given so many other people over the years. Chimagwech. And our speaker tonight, no. So part of the way that we, for anybody who doesn't know, part of the way that we celebrate birthdays in Alcoholics Anonymous is that we have medallions that are given to the celebrants. And so they are markers of their success, and they're kind of a token of thank you from their group. And so we have Bill S. is going to give Wayne his medallion, and then Wayne is going to give Jesse his medallion.
My name is Bill, and I'm powerless over alcohol.
Hi, Bill.
I've known Wayne since I was about 3 and he was 5. We're neighbors, and we grew up together. I won't go into any detail, but we got in a lot of trouble together. emotional and teary. So I'm trying to hold back the tears, with a few times already, but yeah, Bill and I go back a long way, and yeah, there's a line in the big book at page 164 that talks about we are sure to meet each other as we trudge the road of happy destiny, and that's been true for me over the past 20 years, where it's trudging, and it's a road that I never realized had so many, bends, and it's sort of like the Beatles song, it's a long and winding road. It just isn't one straight trajectory, and Mike Fiddler, who's here, and he's, I don't know, how many years are you serving now, Mike? Over 20, anyway, I saw it, for some reason I remember it, I saw he said, how many, he's an honest programmer. Anyway, so I had this 20-year medallion, 10 years ago or so, and I still remember this, and Mike was a humble guy, and he went out and he didn't say too much, but he just accepted the medallion, and he said, just because the river is quiet doesn't mean there's no alligators underneath. And I always remember that because it's a good warning that just because you're sober for a while, yeah, it might seem pretty calm on the surface, but there's still turbulence that's going on there. But the good thing, you get through that. And I'd really like to stress that this isn't really me that did this. This isn't something that Wayne is poster child for AA, deserves. I just think I never came here by choice. I came into AA kicking and screaming. It's not my idea at all. And it's you people, and certainly a power greater than me that I like to call God, that has kept me sober for this time. And not just kept me sober, but kept me sober, happy, joyous, and free, as Bill, like Big Book Bill would say there. And it's got me through, the death of my parents, divorce, a cancer diagnosis, and it's not, and all those things have just kind of strengthened my belief and my faith, and I never would have done that on my own. So it's not me that is some type of hero for staying sober for 20 years. It's you people here, including Gary, who I love Gary, and I always say, no alcoholic guys in vain. We taught me a lesson to stick at it. This certainly is an easier, softer way, even though we don't necessarily see that at the time. So anyway, I'd like to thank you all for being here, and it's humbling just to see everybody here too. I know I've helped a lot of people here, but you've helped me probably more than I've helped you, and you certainly kept me sober over the years with some happiness. So thank you. And anyway, you give me my medallion now. Yeah, when I was 20 years sober, I was just going to go buy a 20-year medallion and just tell everybody I was sober. Anyways, and I might cry here now because Jesse and I have been through a lot, and I'm getting close to you here, so I'm not. But there's a few guys in AA that I always kind of think of as the alcoholic son I never had, and you know who you are here, and there's some alcoholic daughters I never had too, and I have you in my heart, and you were certainly one of those, and you were a guy. If I would have given odds for you staying sober when you first came in, or you come from Penetang and you get into a G&B house, and you had a lot of OCD there at the beginning, I thought. But you kind of channeled that into good stuff there, and you knew that you had a strong step one. You knew you were powerless over alcohol and other things, and you did what you had to do in the early years. Like, I know you sponsored a lot of guys, and a lot of guys still look up to you, and you're married now, and you have a 4-month-old son, Myers, which you probably never would have dreamed about 10 years ago. Yeah. If you go back 10 years, it's just like a different person. If you go back 20 years for me, can't even believe I was like that. So, but it just, and this is spirituality of AA, where I feel it in my heart. I'm just really, really happy for you, And if I say much more, I'm going to cry. So I'm going to give this to you. And it says, I don't have my glasses with me, but what does it say? Step one? No,
powerless and unmanageable.
Yeah, step one, powerless and unmanageable.
Yeah,
And,
thanks, man.
yeah, anyway, thanks a lot. I just thought I'd quickly add, I was going to have my birthday, it was in January 11th, and I was going through some radiation stuff then, and I'm going, and I got better, feeling better, and I was going to have it in April, and I get looking at our birthday list in April, and Jesse's on April the 22nd, and I thought, Jesus, I want to share it with you, because you're an alcoholic son I never had, and a good friend, but there was a little bit of a devious plan to it too, that I know you've been busy with work and you're a real entrepreneur and you have a son and everything now. I thought maybe this might lure you back into A a little bit more too. So there was some selfish motives there too, but it's great to see you here. So stick with us.
Lucky Jesse had something to say, because I thought we were at the part where we had to thank the speaker now, but then. But actually, our speaker tonight is Joel S.
Yeah. Should I open the book? I'm an alcoholic. My name's Joel. And I'll tell you, when Wayne asked me to do this, I had delusions of grandeur. I was going to be standing up there. The balcony was going to be full, and everybody was going to be laughing. They were going to be laughing with me, though, this time, not laughing at me. I've had the honor of serving Alcoholics Anonymous in a variety of different ways in my time in sobriety, and at the group level, district level, area level, and there's no greater honor than standing here tonight and speaking at my sponsor's birthday and my good friend Jesse's birthday. They were both in our wedding party, like Don mentioned, and they both mean the world to me. I met Jesse 10 years ago, and I'll just tell you one quick story about Jesse, and maybe we'll start with this. He, like Wayne said, he came here from a place that most of us never get to, but he survived that and ended up at the G&B house with a mohawk, and he had his track pants with one leg pulled up and the other one tucked in, and had a bit of an attitude, to say the least. Got right into the gym, but he also got right into the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And he did it with Wayne, and we would go, I wasn't too far ahead of Jesse coming out of the house, and every chance I got, I'd go to Wayne's on a Wednesday, and a new guy'd come along, and bam, we'd be back on step one again, and I loved it. I cannot get enough of step one, because if I don't get that 100%, I'm dead. But anyway, so Jesse goes through the steps with Wayne, and life's starting to get pretty good for Jesse, and he's going to drive to Shelburne to buy a car. And they're driving down, and they just turn left in Shelburne there, and it's a pretty busy spot, Highway 89 there, after, in between Highway 10 and 10 again. And this truck pulls up beside him and cuts Wayne off, and they're having a conversation about spirituality in the car. And next thing you know, Wayne looks over, and Jesse's halfway out the window, screaming at this guy in the truck. And he comes back in the car, and he sits down, and he looks over at Wayne, and he says, I guess I got a lot of work to do on that day. Still got a lot of work to do on that. But I tell you, he's come a long way. You can tell by the people that have been up here tonight that he's been humble enough to let Wayne pick all the people that come up here tonight. That was supposed to be funny too. But if you don't know, I live by Rule 62 very seriously. Don't take yourself too damn seriously. So I won't say I met Wayne, but I saw Wayne for the first time in like 2004 for a bit. Then I saw him again in 2008 for a bit. Then I saw him again in 2010, 2009, you know, for a bit when I was coming here for every reason but the right reason. And I remember in the basement of this church, and I'm pretty sure it was Monday mornings, and there was him, and I think the guy's name was Gord. There was another fella named Gord, and I'm at the G&B house. So these first 3 times that I've been introduced to Wayne, I would sit there, and him and Gord would just go on and on and on. And I'm looking at my watch going, do they not know lunch is at 11:30, right? I'm at the G&B house, lunch is at 11:30. I gotta go, I got things to do. So I'm not hearing nothing, right? When I come back in 2013, I started to hear what Wayne had to say. And it started to make sense to me. And I asked him to be my sponsor, and he said no. And I don't know if it was because he had seen me wasting my time for 9 years coming in and out, or he's always had a full stable like most of us know. But I was pretty desperate, and somebody left the house that was part of that stable, and after they left, I asked him again, and he said yes. And we got together every week, just until the steps were done. That simple. You know, and I've since had a spiritual awakening, right? You know, what's supposed to happen. So, you know, I don't know anybody that spends more of their time working with people. And I use this, you know, kind of joke that Wayne will take the ones that nobody else will take, right? He'll say yes to the people that no one else will take, and then I realize that I'm in that group. So I don't find it all that funny anymore. But anyway, so I probably told you I'm an alcoholic. My name's Joel, but I have a sponsor. He knows he's my sponsor because we've done the steps together, and we talk. I have sponsees. I have a grand sponsor over here. So if you're my sponsee here in the audience tonight, there's your great grand sponsor. That's how this deal works, right? And both, you know, both Wayne and Bill, I watched tonight, and they just have a quiet calmness about them. And that's what I wanted when I got here, because everything was just nuts in my life. And I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me, and you have become very much a father figure, and we've played a lot of hockey and had a lot of fun together, because we are not a glum lot, right? We have survived, you know, a chronic, fatal, progressive illness, right? Just for today, right? I have that disease, but for today, I used to, you know, I'll tell you that I used to suffer from alcoholism, but I don't suffer from alcoholism anymore. I have alcoholism, but I don't suffer from it anymore. I've taken 12 steps to recovery. But I guess I'm supposed to tell you, and how it works, that I'll tell you, you know, that I'm going to share in a general way what I used to be like, what happened, and what I'm like now. And, you know, it starts with my first drink. Well, you know what? I believe that if you'd have given me a breathalyzer when I was born, I'd have blown over emotionally, right? There was something wrong with me from the get-go. You know, I never felt a part of, like I fit in, and you know, this isn't news to you people. I'm pretty sure a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I was different, right? I thought so, right? I looked like everybody else, I talked like everybody else, I walked like everybody else, but I didn't feel like it. And I had a great upbringing. I had 2 very hardworking parents, right? That, you know, my dad he came from poverty on the farm, and his goal in life was to give me a better life than what he had, and he succeeded immensely, right? He did a fantastic job, afforded me every opportunity I ever could have wanted, right? I didn't have fancy things, but, you know, he'd work hard so I could play sports, right? He sacrificed a lot of his time. He was a long-haul trucker, so there were times when I was a kid when he'd be gone for a month. He settled into more of a routine in my teenage years where he was home on the weekends, and that really didn't turn out to be real good for our relationship during my teenage years. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but she would babysit sometimes up to 15 kids at a time. So she was bringing in some money, and they just worked hard. They gave me a great, strong work ethic, and there was never alcohol in my home. My dad's never had a full beer in his life. He saw enough stuff when he was young and decided that he didn't want anything to ever control him like that. Now, it's my belief that he's an alcoholic. He's just never drank. He has all the isms, perfectionism, workaholism, all these other isms that I have that are very common in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. He just never took a drink. Right, so it's my belief that, I'm born with it, and if I can stay away from it, it doesn't manifest itself in DUIs and homelessness and, jail time and all that kind of stuff. It just kind of stays idle. But enough stuff happens in my life where I use alcohol as a solution, and then, it's on, right? Because, and Wayne brought this to my attention too, and Jesse will like this one, right? I was probably 9 or 10 years old when I had the first sip of a warm blue out of a stubby at my grandma's. And I remember that. That taste, that expansion of this liquid in my mouth, and it was disgusting. But I don't remember the first bite of steak I had. I don't remember the first pizza I ever had. So that was life-altering at 9 or 10 years old. There was something there that caught my attention. Now, I didn't get drunk for a few more years, and it was, typical AA story. Friday night, dance at high school, and I meet at a friend's house, and his dad had a bar, and we poured a bunch of different things into a bottle, and most of it was lemon gin, so it really didn't taste very good. The other 3 guys didn't think it tasted very good, and I drank the rest of the bottle. Right? We passed it around once. They didn't want any more. I drank the rest, blacked out, puked all over the place, got taken home by the cops the first night I ever got drunk. To a mom and dad who do not understand alcoholism, don't drink, don't smoke, whatever. Some of you will get that song reference, but so, it took me a long time to figure out, I'm very much a good enough guy, right? I will put in the minimum effort that it takes to get the job done. I will find the easier, softer way in every aspect of my life from the time I was a kid, from grade school on, right? I did fine in school, but it was always, Joel has more, whatever the word is, potential. There's, lots of potential, right? But as long as I passed, I didn't care, because I had, I was daydreaming and my mind was elsewhere, and I was more interested in other things. And then, so I have that first drunk at school on Friday night, and I go to school on Monday, and everything had changed. People were talking to me that I'd never, cool kids were talking to me, and they were talking about how awesome that was Friday night, and man, you're crazy, and all this stuff. And I go home after school that day with a friend that I'd known him a little bit from playing minor baseball, but I went back to his place, and we broke this black stuff up into a couple little pieces and put some knives together on the stove, and then he put a tape on with a band called Slayer on it, and 3 of those and a little bit of Slayer, and I went to school on Monday with a pair of deck shoes and parachute pants and a doctor's shirt, double-breasted doctor's shirt and bangles on my wrists and my hair parted on the side. And I went to school on Tuesday with Nike running shoes, Levi's jeans, and a Black Sabbath t-shirt, and my hair parted in the middle. And it happened that fast. And I found a role that I could play for the next 25 years. You guys thought it was cool. Okay. If you're going to accept me as that person and I can play that role for 25 years and you don't need to find out anything about me, I can do that. Right? I had no idea why I was doing that at that time. I know now that I just didn't feel right about myself. I didn't have confidence, right? So, that leads for the rest of high school. Basically, that's grade 10, and for the rest of high school, I'm chasing that feeling every night after school. I'm going to the bowling alley, and I'm meeting with my friends, and we're pooling our money, and we're getting, alcohol in other forms, because I'm not old enough to go to the liquor store at that time, right? And we had other connections, and that's what we did every night during the week in grade 10 and on. On the weekend, we'd find somebody that would buy us a case of beer, and we'd go out to field parties, and that was just a wonderful thing. Field parties, bonfire, barn parties, and it was amazing. I loved it. and I got really good at it. But I know now that, you know, one of the first things that alcohol took away from me was my love for sports, right? I stopped playing baseball, I stopped playing hockey, and I thought back then I was making a choice. It's much like, you know, the story in our literature that talks about, you know, I'm on my way to the bar to have a couple, and I have a couple and I change my mind. Well, I didn't change my mind. The phenomenon of craving kicks in, and I don't have a choice anymore, and I'm there till close, or I'm there till my money's gone, or I'm there till they kick me out, or whatever. And that started right away for me. That phenomenon of craving, it was, I don't know what I was craving, but I was craving a different life than what I had. I'll tell you that my mom kind of reached for religion because I think she thought that she needed some of that in our household when I was young. And she would try to get me to go to church, and I went to Sunday school as a kid, and then she wanted me to get confirmed when I was 16. And at that point, you know, I was searching right from that, you know, my early teens. I was searching for something, so I started a cult in high school called the International Community of Sunists, and we were going to do acid, lay in the field, and worship the sun. That was the plan. Only ended up ever being 2 members, me and my buddy Bobby, but that was fine for me at the time. But I mean, I'm looking back then. I'm looking for something. I've got Antoine Zandor LaVey's Black Bible in my locker, and I'm reading about Satanism. And it's really because I don't want to be a Satanist. It's because I don't want to be what my mom is, right? I don't want to have what they have. I want to be different, but I want to fit in too. And it's just this conundrum that I live with for years. But so when I have that blackout episode, whatever, and find that alcohol helps me to fit in, it's magic, right? You know, I don't feel selfless or worthless anymore, right? I feel confident, you know, the same story that everybody can tell, so I'm chasing that forever. And it was the solution to all my problems for many, many years, right? I didn't get my license until I was 18 because I knew it was a terrible idea. We were cruising back roads, somebody else had a license, so I could just sit back in the back seat and drink and, you know, try to hit mailboxes with my empties. You got extra points if you went out the passenger side. But, you know, so I get my license, and within 6 months I've got my first impaired charge. You know, I wait a year, I get my license back. Within another 6 months I've got my second impaired charge. Luckily for me, it was 10 more years before I got my third impaired charge. Now, I did have to go away for a few weekends over to Barrie after my second one, and you know, what I remember about that is missing the Super Bowl. That's what I remember about that. I don't remember what it put my dad through. I never thought about what it put my dad through having to take me there, right? This man that doesn't drink works his blood, sweat, and tears off. We're in the sanctuary tonight, so I have to be careful. Right? I don't think about what it's doing to him. The man that named me Joel after his friend Joe that drowned drunk when they were 16 years old, right? I don't think about what it's doing to him. I just think about poor Joel's missing the Super Bowl party, right? Anyway, so I float through school, and I get too obsessed with this weekend partying thing, and I'm like, I'm done with school. So I drop out of school, and I figure if I'm going to be somewhere for 8 hours a day, I better be getting paid. So I go to work. You know, in my first full-time job, I kept for 8 years, which was a record up until last year. And at the end of that job, you know, they said, here's 3 days off. If you miss any more time, you're gone. Right? And I'm like the starting shortstop for the baseball team. And, right, they're not going to fire me. I'm a supervisor, youngest supervisor they've ever had. They're not going to fire me. So I take the 4th day off. They fired me. So they walked me out. Every job, so that was 28. Every job for the next 15 years I'm fired from, I'm walked out of, whatever, all due to alcoholism, right? My 20s are literally a blur. Bar drinking, you know, lots of fun then, or so it seemed, right? And, you know, at 28, I meet a lady, and she's perfect for me, right? She's beautiful, she makes tons of money, she likes to drink and do other things like I do. And, you know, on our first date, we spent the night at somebody's house, and we wake up in the morning and the bed's wet, and it wasn't me, and I'm so relieved. And she falls in love because I dried off the bed and didn't tell anybody, because I understand, right? So I helped her out. Now my sponsor tells me it's okay to talk about that today, only if it's not happening anymore. It's not happening anymore in my life. So it's funny today, but you know, a couple years later we have a child, and we've bought a house, and nothing has changed for me. Nothing at all, right? My friends are getting married and settling down, and I just assume, you know, I can get off the ride anytime I want. But nothing's changing for me. Homeowner, father, and nothing's changing. Just keep bringing me my booze, right? When my daughter was born, you know, my friends are like, come on, let's go have some drinks at the bar and celebrate. And I'm like, no, I played the martyr. I'm going to stay here. I'm a new dad and all that kind of stuff. And the truth is, I've got 6 tall boys in the nurse's station, and I'm ordering pizza in, so I'm good, right? I don't have to go through any withdrawal. So 2004, I come to Owen Sound. I spend 90 days at the G&B house in the basement watching sports, counting down from 90 like it was a sentence. And I leave G&B house and I take the bus back to Orangeville, and my partner is there, too drunk to drive me home from the or the bus station. So I don't even make it to my place of residence. I've already hit the liquor store, and I've already gone to see Buddy in the country for some other stuff that I like to do. And off I go. But I con myself, and I con all those around me that are with the fact that I now have some self-knowledge and a little bit of spirituality, right? A couple of years later, my mom dies, and I just turned it up a notch, right? I was 35 when my mom died, so it's not like I was a teenager, but I had absolutely no coping skills at all, because I had my heart broken at 18. Alcohol solved that problem. I never have to feel pain, remorse, shame, anything again, right? I can drink that stuff away. So I come back to Owen Sound in 2008, pause, repeat. Back in 2009, pause, repeat. Lose another job in 2013. And, you know, I was working at Tenneco. It's a pretty good job for Owen Sound, and I'd got kind of my dream job back in the shipping department. There's no management around, and I'm working the night shift. You know, and I'm 15 months sober when they hired. I think I was 15 months sober or something when they hired me, and you know, and I got bored, right? So I thought, what's a couple of tall boys at lunch gonna hurt? So by the time they took me off the forklift, I was drinking 12 tall boys over an 8-hour shift in the shipping department at Tenneco. So they walked me out of that place, and that wasn't, you know, they moved me around a bit. They gave me many, many chances, but I'm not willing to ask for help. So when they walked me out of there, you know, I've kicked my partner out, who moved up to Owen Sound, right, because she believed that, you know, her daughter needed a father, and I've kicked her out of my apartment, and I'm living with another guy, and you know, I've got like 10 months of EI, right? Things are good. I've got lots of beer in the fridge. Life's going okay. And for some, I have no idea how I pulled this off, because I drink 24/7, and my day starts out with a couple of beers, a flat warm beer from the nightstand, fresh from the fridge, vomit in the flower bed, brush my teeth, and off to work I go. Well, not off to work, you know, go about my day anyway. But somehow I interview, and I get a job at RBW, and they have 12-hour orientation days. So I'm in my cups, right, and I go off to my orientation day, and, you know, some of you might be able to relate to, you know, what it's like 4 hours without a drink or so when you wake up in the morning, and you know, you can't even brush your teeth. So my roommate was nice enough to give me a couple of Ativans, and I filled a couple of Sprite bottles with vodka, and off to this orientation day I went. Seemed pretty normal to me. I'm just getting through the day. That's what Joel does. So by noon, my vodka's gone, and I'm thirsty, and I've never been drunk on wine in my life, but they were having some sort of deal going on in the conference room, and I snuck into the conference room, and I stole 2 bottles of wine, and I went to the bathroom and chugged those back, and found out years later that I was sent home in a cab after that. So that was my last real public bottom. That happened early June 2013. June 21st or 22nd, 2013, I called the G&B house again. And Paul would always answer the phone and say, hey, how's it going? And I would say, oh, could be better. When I said could be better, he knew exactly what I meant. And he says, get your butt to detox. We'll talk about it next week. So for the first time in my life, I walked into detox with beer in the fridge, money in the bank, and for nobody else but myself, right? I'm laying there on a Friday afternoon, and it comes to me that I don't want to die. Up until that point, I was kind of okay with it, right? But something came over me, and I don't want to die. So I reached out for help, and it was there. You know, and I go into the house, and they're only going to let me stay 4 to 6 weeks. So as you know, as has been suggested for the previous 9 years, get a sponsor, do the steps, go to meetings, right? So after my second attempt at a sponsor, I get one. And we go through the steps. And a couple of months later, you know, I'm hanging out, and I realize I haven't thought about drinking for weeks. And I'm like, that is the first miracle I can remember ever having in my life. Right? I've been obsessed with alcohol for 25 years at that point, every day. Right? I found the morning drink in my early 20s, and man, what a revelation that was. Right? I never had to be hungover again either. But something changed, right? I had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. And you know, my first year, my first 90 days, I went to 120 meetings. My first year, I went to well over 300 meetings. 6 months into my sobriety, my roommate, I got home. There was I did this 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock deal on Sunday night. I went to a 5-year NA birthday for West Coast Ron. And then I came over here for a 20-year birthday for Todd. And I went home, and I hadn't seen my roommate for a couple of days because he tended to isolate when he was using, and I'd found him dead. And he'd been dead since Friday. This was Sunday night, so it was not a pretty sight. And, you know, for the first time in my life, instead of calling Dial a Bottle, I called my sponsor. First time that I ever went through anything remotely close to being tough, sober. You know, and then I came to more meetings. And you guys hugged me, and you told me you loved me, and you could get through this and keep coming, right? You know, 3 months later, that 15-year relationship ended for good. And I did the same thing, and I kept coming to more meetings. You guys hugged me, and you loved me, and you got me through it. And by getting through stuff, I realized that I can get through stuff, right? I got to go through stuff to get through stuff, right? So that's how my faith built. You know, the first year, you know, I went back to work at 34 years old at minimum wage. You know, I had 5 T4s from different places in the first year, but God provided for me enough money to pay my child support, pay my rent, and no booze, right? Just enough, right? And he kept, you know, I was shoveling freaking driveways for cash at actually 43 years old, not 34, 43. Shoveling driveways for cash at 43 years old. But my dad has taught me that I work for a living, right? I make my own money, and I go out and I pay my own bills, and I wasn't going to sit back and you know, yeah, anyway, I did it my way. So, you know, yeah, that was, you know, I look back sometimes and think my first year was easy, but then I look at those things and go, wow, no, you went through a bit of stuff, right? But that my faith built through that, right? And now my faith starts to grow that, you know, after that first year, I realized I could exhale for the first time in 25 years. I know that everything's going to be okay. As long as I keep doing what I'm doing, as long as I keep hanging out with you people and enriching my spiritual life, I'm going to be okay, no matter what. You know, if you look in the archives of my home group, within 30 days I was the secretary. You know, eventually I become the GSR, and then I start going to district meetings, and I'm scared, and I don't know anybody, and I don't know what to say, and then I get comfortable there, right? And then the next step comes, and it's you know, it's area meetings, and I'm scared, and I don't know anybody, and eventually I get comfortable there, and I get comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? I can do stuff. I can talk to God now, you know, a couple minutes before anything that's scary to me, and a calmness comes over me, and I can get through it. You know, we were at Wayne's for dinner tonight, and Tracy's like, are you nervous? I'm like, no. You know, when the traditions are being read, I might get a little nervous. She's like, what are you going to say? I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea. So, you know, this circle in the triangle that I have here on my necklace, you know, is unity, recovery, and service. You know, for a long time I was trying to sit on a two-legged stool, right? But I added that third leg of service. You know, I guess I really didn't have any legs before because I hadn't done the steps. I wasn't really unified with you people because I didn't belong. But once I put 3 legs onto that stool, it's been pretty solid. You know, Wayne and I go and play in all AA hockey tournaments, and I've been to all AA. Jeff and I play in all AA golf tournaments, right? And I've been able to go to, you know, area assemblies for probably 6 years now, consecutive. And you know, in the ORC, these things are on my calendar. I wish I had more time to actually take you, you know, through what the steps did for me, but well, I don't really. I'm glad to only have to stand up here for 15 minutes. But I do a couple of things I'd like to close with is, well, I guess really just the one is, let the story that got you here be the story that keeps you here. Thanks for being here for me.
Drove a standard vehicle, and when my oldest daughter was 16 and was learning how to drive, I was trying to convince her that she needed to learn how to drive standard also. So I was trying to think of the benefits of it, right? So I said, well, you know, if you go to a field party and you got your radio on all night, you know, and everybody else's car is dead, you can get yours pushed and you can still go home, right? My husband was not impressed that I suggested that my daughter should go to a field party. Anyway, so Mike F. is going to thank the speaker.
Good to see you too. Good evening, friends. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm Mike.
Hi, Mike.
I'm also hard of hearing. I didn't hear what you were asking me. Anyways, let's get by that. Congratulations, Jess. I don't know you, but you're a brother in recovery, so we're good. Wayne is living proof that there is no greater defense against the first drink than working with others. And that's the core of what we do. We share our experience, strength, and hope, and you do it with enormous humility and humor, and I love you so much, brother. Joel, thank you for a really good old-fashioned AA talk. It was good. I could stand up here for as long as you stood up here relating to what you said. I just took a couple of notes because I didn't want to keep you people too long tonight. But I, too, had on all my public school report cards, not living up to his potential. I, too, used alcohol as a tool. Alcohol was not my problem. Alcohol was my solution. And it was the solution to how I felt about life. I had this hole in my chest. I had low-grade anxiety all the time for no reason. Generalized anxiety. And I used it to just manage my inner life, right? And I became dependent on it. I didn't have to feel anything because I had my anesthetic. I too drank alone, most often in the basement. I wasn't a barfly or anything like that. I discovered, as you mentioned, that the greatest display of courage you can show is asking for help, right? I loved my anesthetic. I didn't know what life would be like without it. And you people showed me how to live a decent life under any circumstances. And I grew up in Owen Sound. I'm living in Guelph now. I got sober in Owen Sound at the Scenic City Group. I am forever grateful for what you people have given me, and I hold you in my heart. And thank you. Thank you, Joel. Let's give Joel another round.
So the elephant in the room is I hear people talking about Wayne and his humor and his humility, but really we didn't talk about all his words that go with all of that, right? So I just wanted to mention Wayne loves to talk. I don't know how you guys get through the steps, actually. So there's a couple of things, we're out of time, there's a couple of things. We'll just, instead of sending the seventh tradition around, we'll just put the basket on the table by the food, and if people want to make a donation, they can. There's a couple of cards that have been going around. If you didn't get a chance to sign them, they're out there somewhere. And we do have chips for the first year of sobriety. We're not going to go through the whole thing. We have the Desire chip, which is for the first 24 hours, or Desire to not drink today. 1 month, 3 months, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months. If this is a time for you to get a chip, please come and see me, or come on up now if you want a chip tonight. Okay. So then we are, I would like to invite everyone to join us for some fellowship. We have some cake and some chili. It's venison chili. And there's other edibles that are over there. Please join us. I'd like to thank Paul from the church for being here and putting up with us. And he puts up with us every Sunday night, and we really appreciate everything that he does for us. And if there's nothing else for the good of AA, we'll close with the Lord's Prayer. Whose Father? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.